Well, it looks like becoming a dad didn't slow Max Verstappen down one bit. I'm Tim Hauraney. This is Nailing the Apex post-qualifying podcast. We're in Miami for the Miami Grand Prix. I just got back from the track, finished interviewing Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, Kimmy Antonelli, Toto Wolff, and we got some stuff to break down, so let's get into it. This will be a quick one tonight as I'm recording it at 8:50 p.m. and have to be up at 6 and back to the track. So I'm just going to hammer through and touch on the top three and give you everything I know on all that. Let's start obviously with Max Verstappen grabbing pole position. I think Max felt that he got everything out of the car on that lap. Apart from, I'm trying to remember what he said. I think it was apart from the entry to turn one, what he was telling me. But the issue was I guess his main issue essentially was trying to keep the tire alive for that entire push lap, as the soft tire was degrading on the Red Bull pretty severely when he was getting close to the end of his push laps. And basically for Max, it was just simply, what he was telling me is it was simply a progression throughout the entire qualifying session, Q1, Q2, and Q3, and chipping away at the setup on the car and making the small changes to help the tire life, but also we changed the setup to get some better rotation in the car. So from Friday sprint quali and then into actual quali, he was trying to get a lot more rotation into the car. And that makes a lot of sense to me when, you watch our simulated lap that we did on the sim before coming into the weekend, and the track itself is extremely technical. Not a ton of high-speed content on this track, and we'll touch on that in just a minute because that's actually really important. But a lot of technical corners, and especially like turn one, that is a pretty technical type corner where you kind of got to sacrifice a bit to try and get the car to the middle of the track before, getting back to full power to head through, 2, 3, 4, 5, nice flowing S section. For him, it's just all about getting that nice rotation on the rear so the front really bites, and he doesn't have so much understeer when he's turning in or trying to get the front of the car towards the apex. And I think for him, just achieving the balance that he needed, it obviously paid off well for him, but to try and dial the car in as you're leading up to your final push lap can be quite challenging. Red Bull also brought some updates to Max's car, brought a new floor. Yuki didn't get the floor, but Max did, and I think for them, they may have found a bit of time with the new update that they had brought. I mean, when I was talking to him about it, he seemed quite happy with the new updates as well. Other little corners he had mentioned to me that he had found some time were turn 7, turn 8. Second sector he found a tiny bit in the last corner. I think with the new floor, one of the things that he was mentioning was they were still struggling with some limitations with the car. They were slow on the straights this weekend as well. He was also running a bit more of a used engine compared to McLaren and Mercedes, and their engines were a little fresher coming into this weekend. And I think that helped them with their straight line speed. I think that's a little bit of a reason why Max had the straight line speed deficit. So that can be an interesting thing to watch out for tomorrow, because it could be tough for him to hold on to the lead when the DRS gets activated. So it's going to be important for him to break away. It's going to be important for him to get a good launch. It's going to be important for him to make sure he breaks the DRS right away, because the DRS here in Miami is quite strong. So that is going to be important for Max to try and eke out a win here. Could be difficult. I think he wants it to be colder, better for them in the race. But again, nobody's really done proper long runs. We did have some in FP1 on Friday, but the issue with that is that the track wasn't even rubbered in. There was no rubber laid down on the pavement, so it's too hard to judge with that track evolution, long runs, and the tire degradation. So that's going to be something also to watch out for, in particular with the front runners. I guess one last thing to touch on with Verstappen and Red Bull, even though Max has a good record here, coming into this weekend, this is not their strongest track with all the low-speed technical type corners. So if you look back to, I would say, Japan, Saudi Arabia, like some real high-speed content, that's where we've seen this Red Bull come to life and be competitive. We haven't necessarily really seen this Red Bull competitive on slower speed corners, also with really high temperatures because it's really hot here. So I think they may have unlocked a bit more performance with this floor, but we're not really going to see the benefits of it until we get to some other tracks. Like Imola stands out to me. I think that's going to be an interesting test for this new floor. But yeah, I'll dive into Red Bull just a tiny bit more, but towards the end. I want to talk about Lando Norris real quickly because, obviously he had his turn 17 mistake. Wasn't the most cheeriest after qualifying. I think obviously for him, he just didn't pull it all together. Basically it just didn't piece the entire lap together. And I sat down and spoke with Andrea Stella about this, and it really does sound like when for the McLaren, the MCL 39, it is extremely fast when they get it dialed in and optimized properly. Stella is not upset with Lando making mistakes or Oscar or Lando being at the front of the pack, because he feels they're doing the best that they can. He feels he's getting everything he can from both of those drivers. It's the team trying to engineer the car and get it into a place where both drivers can extract its performance. So this MCL 39 compared to last year's car, speaking with Stella, it really does come down to a car that when optimized properly, it's extremely fast, but just getting it there is quite difficult, and keeping it in the window as well. And I think what's happening with that is the drivers in Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris are having trouble sometimes cueing the car, or knowing when, predicting what the car is going to do is what I want to say. So essentially as a driver, once you get into the car and you learn it's what it likes, what it doesn't, you start to build a relationship with the car, and it allows you to understand what it likes, what it doesn't, and what it's going to do when you do something with the car in a certain corner, a certain braking zone. And you can kind of predict that. So for Norris and for Piastri, it's trying to be able to consistently predict what the car will do in the braking zones, turning in, all that kind of stuff, especially when the tire starts to get closer to its limits on a push run, if that makes any sense. So for the driver, it's a confidence thing as well, like trying to really, really understand like that whole picture of, what is the car going to do when I get to said corner? And sometimes just figuring it out when you get there obviously costs you lap time.
It being the Miami Grand Prix, a clean car is sort of important, right?
Need it.
Absolutely. Now, Tim, are you one of those super detailed guys with your car?
Adam, wax on, wax off, buddy. Let me tell you, okay?
I like to make sure that my cars are sparkling. All right. And inside the car as well. I was using some of the detailer that they gave us for the interior. That stuff makes it shine, buddy.
Now, their names are Silverwax, obviously, and they are proudly Canadian since 1999 when they founded the company. They weren't something else before that. I'm just throwing that out there. And they've got the absolute care promise. It drives them to make caring for your car as easygoing as possible, right? Because sometimes products can be a little bit finicky, but with Silverwax, you're getting something that is not only easy to use, but extremely effective. And Tim, obviously, one of the featured products is the Nano Diamond Ceramic Quick Wax, which just makes wax so much easier.
Shine like a diamond, buddy.
Absolutely. And for your RVs and your boats that have been sitting all winter, insect remover. Real key. A lot of people don't think about that. And then you bring them out and you're like, oh yeah, it's the spring. Silverwax takes absolute care of your car. You can find Silverwax products at your local Canadian Tire or at silverwax.ca. Use the promo code, and this is an important one, SDPN10. Again, it's SDPN10 at checkout to save 10% on your next order with Silverwax.
I think McLaren this weekend, I think they really showed that. I think we actually really saw that here in Miami. Some weaknesses, if you'd like to call it that. Some things that maybe are getting exposed now that we are moving forward. And now we start to look at the car and we start to look at it, and I'm thinking it needs an upgrade. There needs to be a small update to it to kind of maybe help with that predictability for both drivers. And it comes back to that thing that I talk about on the show quite often. It's like, do you want a car that's going to be in or be on a knife's edge, that you can only extract performance from it when you're consistently on that knife's edge and knowing what it's going to do when the tire starts to go away? Or do you want a car that's has a bigger drivability window, provides more confidence, and allows the driver to make up the deficit that they would lose with more downforce, new upgrade, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what we're starting to see with this McLaren and both of its drivers, particularly here in Miami. At least I did, anyways. That's one of the things I really learned this evening at the end of quali, and also speaking with Andrea Stella this weekend as well. Kimmy Antonelli. Well, we'll finish on him because he's been absolutely fantastic. I am so impressed with what Antonelli has done. I got to sit down and finally do an interview with him. So go one-on-one. I'd spoken to Kimmy off the record, last year, and chatted with him a bit at COTA last year as well. Just try to get to know him a tiny bit. And you know what? I sat down with him here in Miami, and just such a great. He's a great personality. He's gonna be really good for Mercedes. Really good. This guy's good. He's so good. I had a 1-to-1 with Toto Wolff at the end of qualifying, and on Friday, Toto had told me well, if you think he's impressive now, wait till you see him when he gets to tracks that he knows, like Imola. And he said that to me before sprint quali, when Kimmy got pole position for sprint quali. And so Toto came out of the back of the garage, and I was standing there with the microphone ready to talk to him. And I said, hey, remember when you told me yesterday that, wait till I see Kimmy when he gets the tracks that he knows, like Imola? I'm like, you should have said, wait till I see him this weekend here in Miami, because he's been super impressive. So Toto obviously over the moon with what Antonelli's been able to do here this weekend. I think for the run in qualifying, he didn't have as clean a run as he did on Friday for sprint quali. He struggled putting the tire in the right window, but he told me he was happy with the result. But when I was looking at him and talking to him, I just wasn't totally too sure I believed him. I honestly, I feel he thought he could have gotten pole here. I really do. I just got that sense. It's just a sixth sense that I got from talking to him. But maybe he was really thrilled with P3. I'm just going by what my gut says. And you know what? I think he thought he probably could have got pole position, and I think he could have as well. Because when he comes up to you and says, talk to me about, well, I didn't have the cleanest run, but I'm really happy with what I got. That signals to me that hey, okay, well, if he was able to get a clean run, where would this car be? I mean, splitting the McLarens is a great thing that he's done here, but what else could he have done, right? He's really just starting to get more confidence is what it's coming down to with this car. And is now really, I think he is. He's really starting to explore the limits of the car. As a driver in F1, sometimes you don't just jump in and all of a sudden you're exploring limits of the car. It takes time to really learn the nuances of it and build that confidence and builds into big laps, like big quali laps, big push laps. Like you don't necessarily want to just jump in an F1 car and go and do that because you're gonna scare yourself, you're gonna crash the car, you're gonna ruin your confidence. So if you move too quickly, you will get bit. If you sort of nicely progress into everything, you'll start to really build that confidence, and it's almost like a snowball effect, really. And that's what we're seeing with Antonelli. So yes, I am excited not only to see him on Sunday in this race, because I think he can get a podium, but also I think he could come away with a victory here as well. However, tire management, that is something that he's still having to learn. So I think that could play a bit of an effect tomorrow in his race. Plus he's got, Piastri, who's dynamite and just incredible on the race tire now as well, because he's learned so much from that. It was interesting listening, Max talking about Kimmy at the end of qualifying, and told us that he wasn't surprised to see Kimmy Antonelli sitting beside him in the press conference room. So I took a lot from that too. I mean, it's not too often Max Verstappen's going out of his way to tell a driver hey, not too surprised to see you here because you're that good. But really great, really great quali. Just it's been this F1 season in qualifying in particular has been so fantastic. It's really blown my mind to see how competitive every team really is, and just to see how far and what the gaps are, just to try and get through into Q2 and Q3, and just missing out, as Isaac Hajar, just missing out. I think it was 0.02 of a second I was looking at timing and scoring. So yeah, just really impressive stuff. Anyways, guys, Adam and I will be back on Monday. Not sure where I'm going to tape that, if I'm going to tape it here or wait till we get back home. But look out for a post Miami Grand Prix podcast with Adam and I coming on Monday. Other than that, enjoy the race on Sunday, everybody, and we'll talk to you all later.